Hi, welcome back to the channel. Today we're in the workshop and believe it or not I've had a bit of a square up and I can get around the other side of the workbench and we can kind of have a look at some gear. The reason for doing this is because I'm in the process of filming a few videos and they'll be kind of coming out in the next few weeks, and one of those, which I've just shot, is our top 10 DIY tools for like renovation work. And that's something we get asked quite often in emails and things. We just bought a house, what would you suggest we need to get? So it's going to be a good one, I think. There's going to be a bit of a talking point there, and people will add stuff and, you know, dispute other things. So I think that'd be quite an interesting one, especially if you're starting out on a renovation yourself. But whilst I was at it, I thought we'd make a quick video today about kind of impact driver versus combi drill and what I've found, considering until a week ago I didn't even own an impact driver. First up, the drill driver, or the combi drill, is probably the go-to power tool for, you know, anyone really, a DIYer, because it satisfies the most basic task, which is kind of drilling, screwing, and of course if it's got a masonry hammer drill version, then it's going to be useful for that as well. I've managed to last 10 years on, well, actually before this one I had this beauty which hasn't been fired up in a while, this Makita. And I tell you what, actually, if you are still hanging on to a combi drill from maybe 5-6 years or more and you haven't used a modern day one, it's like night and day. I was struggling through the beginning of the loft conversion still using this, and while it was okay, the batteries didn't last very long at all, and it just didn't have the driving power, that torque. And as soon as I went to a more modern one, and probably a better model, it was just, you know, it was a real eye-opener. So, but I've lasted 10 years, really, and 2 renovations, one kind of quite minor renovations, and one, well, saying that, we did do a garage conversion, and then this house, which has been a pretty full-on project, I've managed without an impact driver, and this has done the job perfectly. So then I was getting people saying, well, you really need an impact driver, it will really help you out. And that's mainly when I've been doing fencing projects or things like that, where I've been either using this or perhaps using a socket to tighten up a concrete bolt into a wall or something, and I've just coped, you know. It hasn't been the end of the world, and it really wouldn't have been a huge time saver. But I did eventually decide a week or two ago, for those of you who might have spotted it in the last few videos, I got this impact driver. First up, what's the difference? Well, it is what it is. It's a driver. It doesn't drill as such. It doesn't have a hammer drill function, and most of them don't have any speed. This one did actually have a 3-speed or 3 torque settings, which I thought was quite handy. But apart from that, it is pretty much a single purpose tool. The one thing I did like about this one, which was a good reason to stay on the Bosch brand, was that you can take out your driver bit, and that leaves you with that square spigot on the end there that you can stick a socket straight onto there. So that's quite handy. You don't have to have another adapter. Whether I'd use it that much, I don't know, but I think for the fencing projects, if I'm putting a post onto a wall, for instance, and I am using a concrete bolt, then it might be quite handy just to drive it in that way. The main problem I'm really having with this is a family house, and we do most of our renovation work at about 7:30 at night when the girls have gone to bed, and then we'll jump on the tools and, you know, keep going. We chip away at projects, and that's why we don't do a video every 2 days on a different project, because we're just kind of doing bits and bobs. But for that reason, this has been fine. A combi drill is pretty much silent unless you're doing a hammer drill on the wall. If you're just drilling, screwing, you can work pretty stealth mode. Whereas this, putting up the stairs and things like that, I was using it, and it is a noisy tool to use. So I thought I'd just give you a bit of a demo just to compare them. and this is a highly practical thing if you're juggling renovation with a family. And there'll be other reasons, you know. I was hanging some prints in a school, some photo frames, and and it's outside the classrooms during the school day, and I usually use the drill, but I took the drill, the combi drill, the impact driver last week, and although it's very quick, it was only 6 screws in and out, it was just another reason where actually this probably would have been a better job. And if I had needed to just re-drill one of those holes, then I already had the tool here. I didn't need 2 tools. I could have just literally switched it over and banged in another plug, and that would have been fine to go. Alright, let's find a chunky bit of wood. I don't think that's going to be challenging enough. So, I don't know what this is. Maybe 120mm of really quite old solid pine. And I'll find a few screws, and we can just kind of get a feel for speed, but also the noise level and how much of an advantage this is. Right, first up, 75mm screw or 80mm screw, sort of thing you'd use on stud work. So let's go with the combi drill first. Now they're both charged up, same batteries. I don't know how scientific this is really going to be, but so we'll go on setting 1, just for normal sort of driving, and make sure it's not on hammer. So there you go, pretty simple, not using loads of pressure, and pretty much silent. So we'll go the same screw in the impact driver, and I'll put it on setting 1 for now. So it's a little bit quicker on that first drive, but then when it gets closer and it really starts biting in, you get the impact noise, and that's the bit that probably is a little bit too loud to be working outside your kid's bedroom door. Alright, let's see if we can drive something a bit bigger in. I'm trying to find some landscaping screws, because that'd be quite a good indication. These stainless steel coach screws are pretty chunky. They will need a pilot hole, I think. There's a couple of 8mm holes. These I think are an M10, so they're still going to struggle to get in there, which is a pretty good test, I guess. I told you it wouldn't be very scientific, didn't I? I haven't got a driver bit for the right size actually for the combi drill, but so this is just an indication of what this can do. I've only got an old socket to go on here, so I don't know if that's going to work either. So we'll just see how well this does, just to show the power. It's going in pretty well, and it would keep going. I don't want to lose the head into this wood though. So it's probably quite a bit quicker, maybe 2 or 3 times quicker than me tightening up by hand. But it really is pretty noisy, and if you're a DIYer and you're working late at night inside the house, or you're working Sunday evening laying some decking or something, that could be enough of a reason to put you off. That said, putting up the fencing down the side of the house, doing some of the work at the back here, the decking, it is going to speed up things. You don't have to put that extra pressure behind it, and you just find that the bit doesn't slip in the screw as well. So it is going to come in handy, and I'm sure it's worth its weight in gold eventually. But it's just one of those things you need to get used to. You kind of get used to working in a certain way, and you're thinking you can manage without. And I reckon the point of this video is to say this is a luxury item, and not one that you definitely have to have. There are far more tools that would jump the queue as far as what I would have before I purchased this. So that's kind of an intro really to the videos that are going to be coming up, in that the first one is going to be that top 10 DIY renovation tools, and then I'm thinking about doing this sort of back to basics series where we basically look at all the categories of tools, but also within that look at, is it worth buying a really high-end item for some of them? Is it worth just buying an unbranded basic cheap item to get the job done, or is it better to hire? And every category you go through, every job you approach, you've got to kind of think about those three things. And there is, for the last 4 years, there are times where we've gone to one and we wish we'd done another. We'd hire something and actually we've hired it twice or 3 times, and by that time we could have bought a fairly decent one. On the flip side, there are times where if we'd gone out and purchased a turf cutter for £900, of course we would never have won our money back or got our money back, because it only costs £30 to hire. So they're the sort of things that hopefully I'm going to be able to share with you, things we've learnt, things that we do very much differently if we have the chance again. So there you go, that's my little thoughts on an impact driver. The bottom line is you can manage without it, but it is a nice one to have. So there we go, let me know your thoughts. Have you managed to survive without an impact driver, or would you not be able to survive without one now you've got one? Comments below. Thanks for watching. Remember, if you can, do it yourself, and we'll see you next time.